What's up, world? This is your guy, Guitar K, and today we're going to be speaking on pleasure. We're going to be speaking on when pleasure becomes dangerous. Look, man, too much pleasure ends in pain. Always seeking pleasure, seeking comfort and convenience, it can be crippling, man. Look. We don't need pleasure. We want pleasure. Now, we don't need pain, even though we don't seek pain. What I'm saying is that pain is more beneficial than pleasure. Pleasure doesn't give us any lasting benefits. Pain does. Pain makes you tougher. Pain makes you resilient. No, pain makes you appreciate pleasure. So many people, when we're not living in bliss, when we're not living in pleasure, we consider that to be suffering. Pleasure and the lack thereof can make us be weak. It makes you be sick when you're not in pleasure. We have a thing in our brains called dopamine. And when you're always seeking pleasure, you knock that dopamine thing out of whack. You get it out of balance. We need an equal balance of pleasure and pain. Back in the day, good old Rob Bass, he had a song called Joy and Pain, Sunshine and Rain. And just like the world needs sunshine and rain to survive, we also need pleasure and pain. I know a lot of people, they don't like the rainy weather. They be like, oh man, it's raining again. But look, the rain is beneficial. The rain is for the trees, it's for the plants, it's for the crops and the farmers, which is indeed beneficial for us. Just like the pain is also beneficial for us. A lot of beauty comes out of pain. I've heard a statement to be like, beauty is painful. And I've heard this say, when people getting their hair braided, or, like when people take certain exercises, or, when you got to run, or certain things that you got to do. Sometimes you got to go through pain to get to the beauty. So always seeking pleasure, man, look, it can be dangerous. Like I said, man, when you're sitting around always seeking comfort, always seeking convenience, it's unhealthy. It's not good for you. Not mentally, not physically, not spiritually. We were meant to do things. We were meant to work. Our bodies, our muscles, it needs to be moved. We need resistance. We need exercise. We need to do things and not always have things done for us or done to us. Pain makes you better. Pain makes you greater. Look, man, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with pleasure. But too much pleasure can be dangerous. It can be detrimental to your health, detrimental to your mental health, detrimental to your physical health, and detrimental to your spiritual health. Stop always seeking pleasure all the time, man. Look, a person that's always seeking pleasure all the time, in your brain, you make your brain think that you can't function normally without certain things, without pleasure. You can't live a normal life without always chasing that thing. Let me give you a real life example. You ever know somebody, they work in a job, and without that cigarette or without that blunt, they just not themselves. They cussing people out, they nasty, they cranky. Look, man, society should not have to deal with you because you didn't smoke your cigarette or because you didn't smoke your blunt. It's all in your mind. You can be yourself without the nicotine. You can be yourself without the marijuana. You can be yourself without whatever that thing is, without the sex, without the clothes, without the money. You don't need those things. The pleasure has tricked you into thinking that you need it to live a normal life when you don't. You don't need to smoke a blunt. You don't need to have a drink. You don't need to have sex. You don't need to check your Facebook in order to go about your day in a normal way. It's in your mind, man. That's why I said too much pleasure can be dangerous. Too much pleasure will hijack your brain and make you think that you have to do this thing in order to do that thing. You don't, man. Sit down, calm your nerves yourself. There's nothing wrong with prayer. There's nothing wrong with meditation. That's why it's real important that you practice spiritual principles, that you practice the fruits of the Spirit. You practice kindness. You practice patience. You practice long suffering. You learn to go without. You learn to embrace the struggle and stop chasing pleasure all the time, man. Don't let your brain get hijacked to where as though you feel as though you need these things to survive when you don't. It's nothing wrong with a little bit of pain. There's nothing wrong with going without every now and then, man. Like I said, it makes you tougher. Pleasure builds no strength. It doesn't foster any toughness. It actually weakens you. It weakens your acceptance. It kills your tolerance. Too much luxury and comfort. It makes you weak, man. Look, that's why so much weakness now, so much obesity, so much bad mental health, so much bad physical health, so much just bad hygiene, so much bad mental hygiene, man. It's so much bad because everybody's seeking pleasure, and when they don't get it, they allow themselves to go crazy. Look, man, we are tough, resilient people. God made us that way. And he didn't make us to where as though we have to chase the things of the world in order for us to be us. What makes you you is inside of you already. You don't need to seek these worldly pleasures to be good. You are good as soon as you wake up without anything else added to you. All the other things in life is just bonuses. You enjoy them in moderation. Don't overdo it. Too much of anything is not a good thing, man. Too much pleasure can leave you sick, out of shape, weak immune system, man. Look, you can't be a balanced person if you don't learn to embrace all parts of life. The good, the bad, the ugly. If you're only embracing pleasure, you're going to be unbalanced. And an unbalanced person can't stand. And when you fall, it's going to be harder for you to get up. Look, man, we got to not follow the ways of the world. You renew your mind, man, by not always seeking the easy way, by not always seeking the luxury, the convenience. Look, stop chasing the pleasure. And like I said, it's okay to treat yourself every now and again. Nothing wrong with going on a vacation. Nothing wrong with relaxing. But he who always seeking pleasure will never reap a harvest. He who's always sitting around with his hands folded will never gain anything in life, man. Look, pornography, video games, drugs, alcohol, hollow relationships, social media, overeating. All of these things do release dopamine. And it do hit your pleasure senses like you got hit in the head with a brick of pleasure. But it, like I said, it knocks your pleasure senses out of whack. And these are false, empty pleasures that doesn't give you any benefit. And soon as you're done doing them, your brain just automatically tilts right back into thinking about pain, thinking about negative things. But when you do good things, they give you good positive dopamine, like exercise. That gives you a real pleasure and pain balance because you worked for it. You worked for the pleasure. Learning new skills, learning new hobbies, spending time in nature, taking walks, taking runs, actually doing things, natural things, not these fake things like pornography and video games. All of this, like I said, now there's nothing wrong with these things in moderation. Well, actually, some of them, it is wrong. But I'm not here to judge. But like I said, man, when you seek too much pleasure, you're killing yourself, man. You got to release your dopamine in natural ways. Exercising, learning, sharpening your mind, sharpening your skills, prayer, practicing anything gives you good dopamines. Learning something new constantly. We were made to learn. We were made to create. We were made to interact. To be part of, to be in service. When you're in service, that is one of the great pleasures of life, to help others, to learn a skill and to teach that skill to others and to see them learn it and to get the appreciation from them that you taught them something and then to see it spread out like a wildfire, man. That is one of the greatest pleasures in life, man. Like I said, stop always seeking the easy way, man. The easy way is going to have you stuck. It's going to get you left behind. Too much pleasure is dangerous for the world. There's nothing wrong with technology, but I'm telling you, don't let technology do everything for you. Learn to do some things for yourselves, man. It's a movie called Idiocracy, and it was set in the future. It's like a comedy, and it's so far in the future that robots do everything, all the artificial intelligence. And it's kind of crazy because you see it going down. But what happens is all the computers and everything crashed, and don't nobody know how to do anything no more because nobody wanted to work anymore. It's kind of like the Jetsons, if you will. Everything is robots. The doctors, the farmers, nobody know how to do anything. So when it crashes, everybody start dying because nobody know how to do anything anymore. Nobody wanted to learn to do anything anymore. They would rather just sit back, be fat and lazy, and let the robots do everything. Man, that's not what life is about. And like I said, technology is a good thing, but it all needs to be within a balance. Everything needs to be in a balance. Equal pain, equal pleasure. You look, man, it's like a table. Without a table not having equal amount of strength in all its legs, it will fall. The same thing with a person. We need balance in everything. You're always leaning towards the pleasure side. You're going to always tip over, bust your head wide open. Then you're going to stand up, look around like, what happened? How did I get here? You was always seeking pleasure. Too much pleasure can be a dangerous thing. Embrace all parts of life, man. Don't just thank God for the good things. Thank Him for all things. All life is life. Be grateful for all of it. The good, the bad. Like Rob Bay said, be thankful for the joy. Be thankful for the pain. Praise God for the sunshine. Praise God for the rain. And somebody a while ago taught me that people that do love the rain are called pluviophiles. Look, if you didn't learn anything, you learned that today. People who love the rain are called pluviophiles. Look, man, learn to embrace the pain of life because it's going to come whether you learn to embrace it or not. And the more ready you are for it, the more accepting of it that it's going to happen that you are, the better off you'll be. Don't be always indulged in pleasure. Too much pleasure is a dangerous thing. Think about it, man. This is your guy, Guitar K. Be more